It's summertime, y'all, which means that many of y'all are taking vacations, and I know a lot of y'all have had questions about how to travel and consume bread, real bread with freshly milled wheat while on vacation. And in this video, I'm going to be giving y'all some tips and tricks that I do myself when we are on a longer vacation. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel we talk all things real whole grains from a biblical perspective. We actually recently went on our vacation, and we take our vacation before everyone else takes their vacation because we do not like crowds and we don't want to be in the places where the crowds are. So we always take our vacations when school is in session. But we recently went back. Every year we try to go back to our home part of Florida, which is the Panhandle, also known as the Gulf Coast, Emerald Coast, aka best beaches in the world. And we always try to do a beach type vacation once a year. And that usually is about a week long vacation. And yes, I'm always packing my bread to go. And the reason why that I do this, why it's important for us to not just eat out all the time when we are on vacation. And that's really for two reasons. One is, first of all, we're a very big family. It is no small thing to feed these people while on the road. And we don't necessarily want to do fast food all the time, which leads to our second reason. And that's because we're used to real bread, to having real whole grains in our diet, that now when we actually consume a lot of refined white flour, doesn't go so well with us. We're not sick or anything, but we are not feeling our best. And so I do always want to make sure that I am bringing along our bread or something with our freshly milled flour that we can still have while on the road to keep us a little bit more used to our diets, that we a little bit closer to our diets that we consume at home. So in this video, we will be discussing whether you need to go through the trouble of bringing your grain mill and wheat berries with you on vacation, what I actually personally do whenever I go on vacation myself with my family, and then I'm going to be giving y'all some recipe ideas of things that travel well. So first of all, the biggest question that you need to ask yourself is, how long is your vacation? For me, if I'm just going away for a weekend, I don't really worry about it too much. Usually what that means is, say if we're leaving on a Saturday, coming back on Monday, Saturday morning, I usually make some sort of breakfast, either to go or something that we can consume quickly at home, like muffins. So we start off our trip with breakfast with some sort of freshly milled wheat or whole grains, and then it's just a couple of days where we're with other people, and usually that's fine with us. But if I'm looking at a week-long vacation, and especially longer than that, then I'm definitely want to consider what I can do bread-wise. You also need to consider where you are staying. What are your accommodations? If you were just in a hotel with no kitchen, nothing like that, that's going to be different than if you're staying, say, in an Airbnb where you have a full kitchen, and you're able to actually cook or bake. For example, when we went on our beach trip, we were staying at my dad's place, but we were not the only ones staying there. My sister's family was in town as well as my brother. And so the house was full. The kitchen is small. There wasn't, and I didn't want to spend my vacation baking. So what I did for our vacation is I actually baked several loaves of bread that I brought with us. I also made muffins the day that we left, and that was our breakfast. And I also wanted to bring oats, but I completely forgot. So we ended up buying oats to consume oatmeal for breakfast. And so what this allowed me to do is, while on vacation, our lunches were usually some sort of sandwich with our bread. And then we would usually have our bread for breakfast. Like say if I was doing oatmeal and toast, or we would have eggs, and toast. So we were 2 meals out of the day. We were able to consume our bread with freshly milled wheat. And then usually supper was eating out somewhere, and we just enjoyed eating out and didn't really stress too much about what we were eating. So again, that's a place where I was in a house where I did have a kitchen to work with, but I didn't bring my grain mill nothing like that. Now, contrast to whenever I have stayed in an Airbnb for over a week, I pretty much do the same thing where I was bringing as many loaves of bread as I could. And then we would usually do muffins, and I would keep it there as long as possible while cooking in the Airbnb various things like, we would typically go grocery shopping when we were there, and have it at our Airbnb where I had a kitchen. So the bottom line is I definitely focus on bringing several loaves of bread. Now, usually for us, we are a large family and we consume, like on our vacation, we went through 3 loaves of my bread before vacation was up. So I did end up needing to actually buy bread from a store closer to the end of our vacation because we still were, say, going to the beach and we wanted sandwiches. So what I do in those instances is whenever I run out, I then just go to the grocery store and buy the highest quality bread possible. One that we typically buy at Publix is, I think it's called Dave's bread, where it's typically more of a whole grain bread. No, you're not going to get anything like fresh and milled wheat at the store, but it is at least better. This method that I use is not necessarily foolproof, going to get you through your entire vacation, but you do need to prioritize it to see, what are your priorities? Do you want enough for, say, just your breakfast? Do you also want enough for breakfast and lunch? How many people are you feeding? Those type of things. Are all the things that you need to consider. So there is some meal planning involved. So you have a game plan going in and not completely flying off the cuff. Now, of course, if you're on vacation and you have no access to a kitchen whatsoever, that's whenever you're going to have to pretty much just bring the things with you, do the best you can. And then, depending on how long your vacation is, then you may have to buy bread in the store or just handle not having your real whole grains. But there are some things that you can buy on the road to actually help you out. And we'll get to that in a bit. Now, as far as bringing your grain mill, I had never have brought my grain mill. Now, there would be an exception. If I was staying at a place for like 2 weeks or longer, then I probably would pack my grain mill, maybe my mixer, to be able to have that. Or if you're not wanting to pack all of those things, you can mill the flour yourself at home, put it in a Ziploc bag or some sort of container, take it with you, keep it in the freezer. Yes, it will oxidize a little bit, but keeping it in the freezer will slow it down. And again, over a few weeks, you are going to be losing some of those nutrients like vitamin E, but you are still going to have the crucial ingredients like fiber that are going to help your digestive system out while on the road, which I know for us is the biggest issue. Is you're mainly thinking of digestive health. You're just not wanting to be constipated or anything like that going on when you are on vacation. Now, let's get into some recipe ideas, both if you are going to be able to cook on your trip or not to cook, and some things that you can just bring. All right, so if you're wanting to do all your cooking before your vacation, you do not want to really cook on your vacation, here are some things that I recommend that you can bring, and this is based off of my experience, how long it usually lasts. So of course, you have your yeast spreads. You can just bring loaves of bread, and I find that when stored properly on the counter or, room temperature, they'll be fine for about 3 days. You can keep them in the refrigerator and that will last a little bit longer, but I do find come like day 4, it may start drying out a little bit in the refrigerator. You do need to make sure it is covered or packed correctly. Now, with your bread, another option that you have, that's my dog, is you can bake your loaves of bread before you leave, slice them, freeze them, and then take them along. And whenever you're just wanting some toast, you can keep the bread in the freezer while you're on vacation and then pull out a slice and toast it so you can at least have toast whenever you want. And that will definitely make your bread last through your entire vacation so long as it's frozen. Now, one thing I recommend with packing your loaves is you do need to pack them correctly. And I love using these bread bags. As you can see, this is one of my loaves of bread bag, twisty tie, and I know it's plastic. So if you have a thing against plastic, you just need to have an airtight container for them. These bread bags I love because they are thicker. They are not super thin. They fit my loaves. They come in multiple sizes, and I get them in the twisty ties from Pleasant Hill Grain. which, speaking of Pleasant Hill Grain, that is a sponsor for today's video. And one thing I love about Pleasant Hill Grain is because they have all things bread. They have the grain mills, the mixers, the wheat berries, the bread bags, the twisty ties for the bread bags, the yeast, all the things that you need. And I love purchasing my ingredients and my equipment from them because I'm supporting a small family business, not Amazon. All of those things. They are also excellent when it comes to quality. If you love having your things shipped to your house and know that they're going to be top-notch quality and customer service, then Pleasant Hill Grain is the way to go. So just be sure to shop at Pleasant Hill Grain. Just go to grainsandgrit.com/PHG and tell them I sent you. Okay, so again, with the loaves of bread, make sure they are packed correctly. Because the biggest thing with bread is that if it starts to dry out, it's going to get crumbly. It's not going to last as long. No bueno. With bread, I was able to make it last. So we left on a Saturday and we ran out of bread on, I think, that Thursday after breakfast. So I took 3 loaves with me. I know a lot of bread, but it did last us that long. But I did have to start making sure I kept it in the refrigerator to make sure that it would last that long and not go moldy or anything like that. You do need to consider, if you're coming down here to Florida in the summertime, that it is very hot and humid here, which does affect how long your bread lasts when it's out on the counter. So also keep in mind when you're traveling, whether it is in the winter and there's snow and it's drier, or in the summertime and you're basically coming to the subtropics. Other great options to bring. I love bringing muffins. Those are great for the first couple of days. Now, those, if you want them to last longer, you definitely need to keep them in the fridge because they are a moist bread. Banana bread also works well. Keep it in the fridge or slice it up, put it in the freezer. But those are great to have the first couple of days. Another great thing to have are cookies. Bake up some cookies, store them in a Ziploc bag or some sort of container and bring it along with you. And that's a healthy snack to have as well. And those generally last you probably a good 3 to 4 days. Cookies sometimes can last longer. Again, you can keep them in the fridge. The muffins though, hardcore, not longer than 3 days typically. Again, they're just a moist bread. Now, if you are cooking, like I said, the easiest way is you can just mill the flour and bring it with you, keep it in the freezer. But I would actually make sure that you're doing meals that are actually simple to make and don't need a lot of equipment, say, a bowl and a whisk. Because especially if you're staying at an Airbnb, most likely they're not going to have some fancy mixer, muffin tins, things like that. They might. So if you're wanting to prepare muffins on the road, you may need to consider if they're going to have muffin tins or bring your own. But things like pancakes are very easy to make on the road. A bowl and a whisk is all you need. And that's a great breakfast dish. Even if they just have, a skillet, you can make pancakes in a skillet. You don't need a big griddle to make up some pancakes. And even though you mill your flour in advance, you will be losing some nutrients. But again, the fiber will still be there, which is definitely, in my opinion, one of the most important ingredients to have when you're on vacation and away from your typical diet. Now, do not forget about other grains than wheat. There are oats, which, good news, oats are pretty much at every grocery store. Oatmeal is a very easy breakfast to make up. It is nutritious for you. So if you forget to bring oats or you don't have a way to roll them out yourself, just go pick you up some oats from the store, and that's a great whole grain to have. Another thing is cream of wheat. Now that does require you to, mill it at home and bring it, but that's something that you can keep in the freezer. That's another breakfast idea, is to have cream of wheat. And then of course, don't forget your beans, which you can definitely find that at any grocery store. So beans are hearty for you. That's another great thing to include if you are cooking while on your vacation. Now, I have seen some people, these are like homemaking channels where they make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and freeze them. I have never done that with bread with freshly milled wheat. Anytime you see that, it's always store-bought bread. So I'm not sure if that would work with freshly milled wheat. it possibly will. And so if that works, if you would like to experiment with that, that is also another possibility where you can just bring it and it's frozen, keep it in your freezer, and then you're wanting sandwiches. There's some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches waiting for you. There you have it, y'all. I hope this was helpful. Again, I've seen several questions about this in the milling groups I'm a part of on Facebook. People asking how they travel with bread. And this is how I do it. Again, I've never gone more than a week-long vacation, but not only does it keep us a little bit closer to our normal diets, but it definitely saves us money on the road as well. So if you were choosing to come to Florida for vacation this summer, hey, just know you're not going to die of a hurricane or alligators. They're not everywhere as well. The bugs are ridiculous, and so is the humidity, and you will be sweating like a pig. So if you plan on wearing a lot of makeup here, ain't gonna happen. And if you plan your hair to stay straight, it ain't gonna happen either without like a whole lot of help. So there's some tips vacationing in Florida. So happy summer. Let us know in the comments below where you plan on taking a vacation, if anywhere, this summer. I'm a native Floridian, so if you got any Florida questions, I can probably answer them for you, and I can help you out in the comments below. As always, I hope you'll have a wonderful day. Stay safe right there traveling, and have a wonderful time with your family.